Once upon a time, in a quiet town where the rooftops whispered in the wind and the stars blinked like tiny knowing eyes, there lived a boy named Haru. Haru was a small boy with big dreams, but his heart carried a loneliness too heavy for someone so young. He had once shared his days with a best friend, a girl named Eiko, who laughed like chimes in the summer breeze. They had spent their afternoons chasing dragonflies by the river, their feet splashing through the water as they shouted secrets only the wind could hear. But one day, Eiko was gone. No one told Haru where she went, only that her family had to leave and she wouldn't be coming back. The town remained the same. Its cherry blossoms still bloomed, the river still sang its lullaby, and the sky still stretched endlessly above. But for Haru, everything felt different. The world was quieter without Eiko's laughter, and the wind no longer carried secrets, only silence. Then, one evening, as the golden light of sunset poured through his window, Haru's grandmother sat beside him with a story. "There is an old legend, my dear," she said, her voice soft like the rustling of autumn leaves. "If someone folds 1,000 paper cranes, the gods will grant them a wish." She placed a single sheet of paper in Haru's hands, thin, delicate, and waiting to be shaped into something new. A promise bloomed in Haru's heart. "If I fold 1,000 cranes," he whispered, "Eiko will come back." And so he began. Haru's room soon became a sea of paper. Sheets in every color, soft blues, pale pinks, golden yellows, covered his desk, his bed, and the wooden floor. With careful hands, he folded each crane, pressing each crease with quiet determination. 1, 2, 3. At first, his fingers fumbled, and the shapes looked nothing like cranes, more like wrinkled leaves caught in a storm. But he didn't stop. With each fold, his movements grew steadier, his touch more certain. By the time he reached 50, he no longer had to think about the steps. His hands knew the way, like a river flowing toward the sea. By 100, his tiny room felt different. The cranes perched on his shelves, hung from the ceiling like stars, and lined his windowsill where the morning light kissed their delicate wings. But one evening, as he sat at his desk, folding yet another crane, doubt crept into his heart. What if the legend isn't real? He looked at the tiny bird in his hands. It was just paper, silent, unmoving. What if Eiko never came back? What if he was only making wishes on the wind? Haru clenched his fists. "No," he told himself, "I have to keep going." And so he did. Time moved in quiet ripples. The cherry blossoms fell, their petals dancing through the streets like drifting snow. Then summer arrived, bringing warm rains that tapped gently against his window as he folded through the night. 300 cranes, then 500, then 700. With every crane, he whispered the same wish. "Bring Eiko back." But Eiko did not return. One morning, as Haru sat by the river where they used to play, he held a small crane in his hands and sighed. "Do you think she'll remember me?" he asked the wind. The crane did not answer, but a butterfly landed on its wing, resting there as if to say, "Keep going." So he did. The day Haru reached 999, the world outside was quiet and still. Snow had begun to fall, soft and gentle, wrapping the town in a hush of white. In the golden glow of his paper-filled room, Haru picked up the last sheet. His hands did not tremble, but his heart did. With the final fold, the last crane took shape, delicate, perfect, filled with every whispered wish he had ever made. 1,000, he breathed. He waited, but nothing happened. No magic wind, no glowing light, no whispered voice from the heavens. The cranes sat in silent stillness, their wings frozen mid-flight. Haru's chest ached. His fingers curled around the last crane. He had believed, he had hoped, but Aiko was still gone. Tears welled in his eyes. Had it all been for nothing? Then, from outside, a voice he hadn't heard in so long. Haru! His heart stopped. He turned, and there, standing at the gate, was Aiko, older, taller, but her eyes were the same light, the same warmth. Haru ran. The snow crunched beneath his feet, the cold air stung his cheeks, but he didn't care. Aiko! She laughed, a sound like chimes in the wind. I found one of your cranes, she said, holding up a small golden bird. And I knew I had to come back. Haru looked past her, and his breath caught. The wind had carried his cranes far beyond his room. They fluttered in the trees, lined the fences, and danced in the sky like tiny messengers. He had sent his wish into the world, and the world had listened. The legend was true after all, not because of magic, but because hope, when folded with love, always finds its way home.